Ian, thank you for joining us. Two meetings have taken place here at Tynecastle today. There's been two votes and two very favourable outcomes for the club. Can you tell us how big a day has it been for Hearts overall?
Well, I think given the tragedy that happened back in June when Hearts went into administration, given that we're 6 months on and we now have a situation whereby we've cleared many of the hurdles that were in the way of the club exiting administration, I think it's been a huge day for the club. Obviously, we haven't yet finished that process. There's a five-stage process still to go through. The two meetings today have cleared two of those, and they're very, very important meetings because essentially what the creditors and the members have said to the bid that's on the table on behalf of the Foundation of Hearts is that they will accept those in principle, but we have to go forward with the nuts and bolts of putting it together and making sure the shareholders are happy of transferring the shares across to the new owners of the club.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we talk about those two meetings, a creditors meeting and then the members meeting, you know, people might be slightly confused about the difference between the two and what the acceptance of both actually means. Could you sort of break it down for us in more simpler terms?
Certainly. Well, the first meeting in terms of the creditors meeting is everyone who's owed money by the club pre the 19th of June of this year when the club went into administration. You need 75% of the people who were owed money in terms of the value of the money they were owed to vote in favour of the CVA, and they've done that by 87%, which is a tremendous result for the club and for the bid going forward. The second meeting is the members, so that's essentially the shareholders of the club, and they indeed have voted unanimously to take the CVA process forward. We've now got to make sure that UBIG can transfer their shares. They're still, of course, going through their own legal process, and they have to agree to that with their own creditors meeting because they are also in administration. And then we have the deal that has to be brought together and signed, and then the club can move out of administration and back into normal ownership at the fifth stage. So momentous day, momentous meetings, but a really good step forward in terms of where this club goes next.
Yeah, you mentioned the 5 stages. It's always been a case of it being a marathon as opposed to a sprint, and there is still a fair long way to go, isn't there?
There is, and we don't want to raise expectations too far. We're absolutely delighted that we've got this far today, and we were very pleased that BDO have been able to get the CVA meetings done today with the results that we've got. But this is a long, long way. It's always going to be a marathon and not a sprint, and we've always looked at the analogy of this being a hurdle race. We've got over many, many hurdles, including a few water jumps today. You could perhaps extend the analogy, but there is still a few to go before we cross the finish line. So we have to say to the fans to continually, not just to support the foundation, but to continue to support the club, because the priority is this club's survival, and until we've got a signed, sealed, delivered contract into new ownership, then that has to be the priority.
Well, that is absolutely crucial to all, isn't it? And the fans have been remarkable to date, and their support on and off the park will continue to be crucial.
It will be crucial, and we're only here today because the great involvement of the supporters of this football club. They've put their hard-earned cash into the day-to-day running of the club by buying season tickets and merchandise and programmes and everything else associated with the club, but they've also backed the Foundation of Hearts, and without them we wouldn't have been here today talking about these two CVA meetings that have been passed. So it's great credit to the supporters, and we really need to give them something back now by getting over these last few stages, getting across the finishing line and delivering fan ownership to this football club.
Today's been a positive day, but instantly you will look to the future and what's on the horizon. Can you tell us what's sort of next on the cards then?
Well, next on the cards is to get back to the creditors, and indeed the only two that really matter in this process are UBIG and UKO Bankers, to make sure that we can get the nuts and bolts of the CVA now put together and signed and sealed. And we also have to make sure that the UBIG creditors meeting that will approve the transfer of their 50% shareholding into new ownership also takes place as quickly as possible. Once all that is done, we can then take forward the conclusion of the CVA, get the signatures dry on the CVA, and then move this club out of administration and back to a brighter future. The timescales involved in that, of course, could still be lengthy, so we do encourage people just to be patient, but to continue to give us their support.
Many thanks, Ian.
Thank you very much.